Cowboys fans are fraudulent. They don't really exist. Mike Fisher reporting on your Dallas Cowboys, and I think we need to treat this allegation with seriousness. So I'll do it in as sober a way as possible while trying to represent as best I can Cowboy Nation, even though, as you know, in my somewhat unique position, I'm a Cowboys observer for 32 years without exactly being a Cowboy fan. And I do think that makes me unusually qualified to address Michael Wilbon's allegations against you. Michael Wilbon, of course, one of the most talented sports writers of his generation. Sports personalities, too, thanks to his work on ESPN and Pardon the Interruption. He is nationally renowned. You recognize his voice, you recognize his face, and he's enormously talented. And I have no idea why he's wasting his talent on this attack. And it's been a season-long attack on the Cowboys. Now, some of you have told me that Wilbon's done this for years and years and years. I've never noticed an anti-Cowboy vibe from Wilbon in an irrational way, or in a way that is cloaked in journalism. The fact that Wilbon is from Chicago makes him, I think, a Bears fan, and then he's been working in Washington for a long, long time, so obviously he is a Washington observer the same way I'm a Cowboys observer. I don't know how that has turned into this. This is what Wilbon said the other day. His specifics were about Cowboys at Chiefs. And he was talking about how the Chiefs are going to win because they have, and I quote, the greatest home field advantage in professional football. That's valid enough. It might not be true, but that's a fun barroom debate. Which sports team has the greatest home field advantage? Or which NFL team, the greatest home field advantage? And absolutely, having covered games in Kansas City, I can let Michael Wilbon win that debate. But then he says, quote, you know how people say the Cowboys have the best fans? No, they don't have the best fans. The Cowboys have a bunch of front runners who already live in that place, who just show up with stupid foam fingers. They don't travel. They're not like the Steelers. They're not like the Packers fans or the Bears fans or people who actually get on a plane and go take over your field. Cowboy fans, Michael Wilbon says on ESPN, representing ESPN, are fraudulent. They don't really exist. Now, to our calculations, this Wilbon thing with the Cowboys began earlier this season when the Cowboys were 3-1. And he called them junk after previously having labeled them worthless and labeling you overrated. Now, a 3-1 team being junky is silly, but you could have analyzed the Cowboys at 3-1 and not believed. That's okay. Worthless seems like such an empty and dopey things to say about a 3-1 football team. But okay, you're judging the football team. I did not understand at the time, any more than I understand now, Michael Wilbon on ESPN using his platform there on the worldwide leader to say that you are overrated, that you, the Cowboy fan base, is overrated. I don't even understand the accusation. Who is rating you? And why do we care about the rating of you versus Chiefs fans versus Packer fans? I don't care who's rated first. There's no such thing. I do care, though, about what has become a personal attack, not just on the Cowboy football team, because you could even look at the Cowboy football team at 7-2 if you wanted to and say it's a mirage. You'd be wrong. It's not. But you wouldn't be the first person in sports media to look at a good team with a good record and say, I'm not a believer. That's okay. At some point, though, with Michael Wilbon, again, respected journalist, which is why this is so shocking to me. This is not like some of the other guys that have made their careers on TV by trying to be shock jocks. This is a award-winning journalist who's decided to either veer off into a weird publicity stunt so he can ride the coattails of Cowboys Nation, because that's what's happening here. He's getting attention from bashing you, not the football team, you. Because bashing the football team is okay. Is this a gimmicky publicity stunt? Because that'd be too bad. Or is this the way Michael Wilbon really feels, that you don't exist? Because that's not just too bad, that's embarrassingly ridiculous thing to say about you. He says you don't travel. He says you don't exist. And he says you're front runners. Let's do these one at a time. Travel. Wilbon can't know this, so he shouldn't pretend he does. I've been traveling with the Cowboys for 32 years. I've been at virtually every Cowboy home and road game for the last 32 years, every one. And I'm telling you, and you know this if you live in a city outside of DFW, if you're in Philadelphia or Washington or New York or California or New Orleans or wherever, you know this. When the Cowboys for the last 32 years, it's changed a little bit, Gulf War, 9/11, COVID. But for the better part of the last 32 years, when the Cowboys show up at their team hotel, there are hundreds of you in the street, in the lobby, waving at the buses, hoping you catch a glimpse of anybody from Tony Romo to Tony Tolbert and everybody in between. And that's a fact. I'm shocked that Wilbon's unaware of this, because the Cowboys have come to his town, Washington, every year for the last 32 years. And in Washington, which, by the way, I can easily prove is a hotbed of Cowboy fans. I would suggest that the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area, that the top three teams in no particular order are the Ravens, the Cowboys, and Washington. And he knows this. Just like in California, the Cowboys are one of the top teams. In Florida, the Cowboys are one of the top teams. In Louisiana, New York, Massachusetts, Colorado, the Cowboys are a favorite team. I've lived it. I've seen it. You are it. Hotel lobbies in every city. Downtown streets in every city. Packed with you. Lined down the street with you. Just to wave at the bus. You and your grandmother and your son. The three of you. I've seen it 1,000 times. Just to wave at the bus. Sometimes, by the way, it's only the media on the bus, and you don't care because it's a Cowboy bus, and you live out of town. And this is your best chance to touch something. Cowboys, the way the Cowboys have touched you. I got on a plane to Minnesota on a recent Saturday, and however many seats were on that plane. There must have been 200 Cowboy fans on that plane traveling from Dallas to Minnesota. I see that every week too. Now, what Wilbon's talking about, and this is not to discredit Steelers fans who do travel, Packers fans who do travel. I am not aware of Bears fans traveling, but that's Wilbon's Chicago bias. When the Bears play at Dallas, I am not aware that there's been some gigantic movement of Bears fans at AT&T Stadium. I've explained before why at AT&T Stadium and before that Texas Stadium there is often a large group of opposing fans. Denver, San Francisco, Green Bay, Pittsburgh. All those teams represent in that regard. And the reason, specifically to AT&T Stadium, without having the actual dollars and cents and calculator in front of me, if I buy 4 season tickets and the season tickets are $1,000 a piece, that's $4,000 that I'm spending. By the time I spend the whole package, let's round it up to $5,000 times 10 games, that's $50,000. If I get an opportunity to sell one of those weekends that I'm not going to go to anyway to a Bronco fan, and he's going to give me $5,000 so I can recoup some of my money that I bought my season tickets with, I'm going to sell those tickets. And that's what happens. And then brokers, travel agents, whatever, gobble up those tickets and sell them to Bronco fans. Why do Bronco fans want to come here? Number one, they get to see their team. And maybe they don't live in Denver, or maybe they do. Maybe they live in Texas and they want to see their team. Number two, they want to see the Cowboys. Now, they might want to see the Cowboys lose, but they do indeed want to see the Cowboys. This is the most popular sports team in America by far, even and especially including people who hate it. The people who hate the Cowboys still make the Cowboys popular. And the third reason is they want to see that building. Like Texas Stadium before it, it is a TV character. Texas Stadium was a TV star, and people wanted to go see it. And again, Wilbon doesn't know this. I do. When I go to AT&T Stadium every Sunday for a noon game, and I get there about 8 o'clock in the morning, it's already packed with you. And you can't get in yet, so you're just milling around outside, taking pictures of the Tom Landry statue, taking pictures of the building itself, taking pictures of the neighborhood, anything that will allow you to touch the Cowboys the way the Cowboys have touched you. Cowboy fans do travel. And it's weird that even though that's evident on TV, somebody would be ignorant to it. Amari Cooper, in the grand scheme of things, is a fairly innocuous Cowboy. And I don't mean that as an insult, but if you look at the 60-plus years of the Cowboys, Amari Cooper's been here 2 years. When he catches a pass in a road game, what do you hear coming out of your TV set? Coop. Okay, this isn't Troy Aikman they're rooting for. This isn't Tony Dorsett they're rooting for. It's Amari Cooper. Really good player. But you can hear 20% of the crowd on the road every time. 30%, 40%, 60%. Coop. This happens in NFC East games all the time. And it's weird that Wilbon doesn't recognize this because surely he's going to the Washington games, right? Cowboys at Washington? That place is packed with Cowboy fans every time. Cowboys at Philadelphia, Cowboy fans. Cowboys at New York, incredible audience of Cowboy fans. You do travel. You do show up. You are real. Cowboy fans are fraudulent, Wilbon says. They don't really exist. He talks about foam fingers. Oh, people just show up at AT&T Stadium with their foam fingers. Michael, you are 20 years behind the way fandom works. It's not foam fingers. I don't see any foam fingers at AT&T Stadium. I'll tell you what I see. I see rich people. I do see that. I also see not rich people. Lots of them. Who saved up every penny so they could take a vacation weekend traveling from all over Texas and from all over America to come to DFW, and their family vacation one time, once a year, they're not rich, is to go to a Cowboy game. It's a ritual. Not rich, ritual. One time. A gigantic portion of this fan base is Hispanic. A gigantic portion of this fan base is probably lower middle income. Michael Wilbon, they count too, even if they can't afford to fly first class to Boston for every game. They count too. So do the ones of you who never go to a game. And there are millions of Cowboy fans that have never been to a game in person and never will go to a game in person. Why? Well, they live in Germany. They live in Seattle. They live in Boston. They don't have the money. So they show their devotion as best they can. Blood, sweat, tears, and the money they do have. I'm tempted to contact Michael Wilbon and ask him for his email so I can send him some of what you send me over the course of the last 32 years. Again, our unique seat here, especially now with the Fish Report on YouTube. I get to see and hear from and communicate with almost 40,000 Cowboy fans every day at cowboyssi.com. First 2 weeks in November, 2 million Cowboy fans reading cowboyssi.com and then texting me, calling me, emailing me, DMing me, contacting me through social media to tell me their stories. Not only their opinions, but their stories. I'm going to give you one. And I haven't gotten this gentleman's permission, but I trust that that he'll understand why I'm talking about him and his son. Fish. I'm a true and blue Cowboys fan for 48 years. I'd like to thank you for your pure and honest reporting on the team. I'd like to ask a favor. He wants a painting. We do a little fish art. My oldest son just experienced a pretty scary medical situation, and he describes the situation, and it is more than scary. Hospitalization, numerous tests, diagnosed, prayers, fasting of friends and family, he is pulling through. I'm reaching out to you, Fish, to ask you if you'd consider doing a painting of Jason Witten with my son. There's an understanding here that Dad recognizes. The chances of Dad actually getting his son to meet Jason Witten, that's a tough one. Because Dad doesn't live in Argyle. If Dad lived in Argyle, he could probably walk up to Jason Witten today over at the Albertsons. Or is it Kroger? Dad's in the Army. He's a 22-year-old Army vet. Not only is he not in Argyle, Texas, he might not even be in the United States right now. My son's birthday is on the 27th of November. He was born at halftime in a hospital in Colorado Springs on Thanksgiving Day, right about thereabouts, right? Where we lost to the Seahawks. Dad remembers the day his son was born because it was a holiday and the Cowboys were playing the Seahawks and the little baby was born at halftime of the game. He was born a fan. He continues to be a diehard fan. Please consider, Fish, painting my son with Jason Witten, and I'll pay express shipping if I can get it in time for his birthday. It's a dad in the Army with a sick son who was born at halftime of a Cowboy game. Michael Wilbon, that little boy exists. His dad in the Army exists. The memories are real. The memories stay. The memories hold. And it's insulting for you, whether it's just because you're ignorant or because you're trying to be cute, to deny that these people exist. I talk to hundreds and thousands of them every day. And we know that millions and millions and millions of them exist. What the Cowboys do for you, among other things, and sports teams do this for all of us, a passion, a distraction, an almost religion. ESPN owes you an apology. You are devoted. You do exist. You are real. And one more thing about the bandwagon. and Wilbon mentions this as well, front runner. Absolutely true. The Cowboys have more bandwagon fans than any other team in sports. It's true. Why? Because they have more fans. The Cowboys also have more redheaded fans, more female fans, more tall fans, more short fans, more old fans, more elementary school fans, more old folks home fans. They have more of everything, which makes it real, which makes you real. Fish.